Anomalam Rajo Vacha Yata Sandayate Brahman Dharana Yatra Sammata Yadrishi Vaharet Ashu Purushasya Manomalam Rajo Vacha Yata Sandharyate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharirashu Purushasya Manomalam Rajo Vacha Yata Sandharyate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharirashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha Yata Sandharyate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharirashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha
Yata Sandaryate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharit Ashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha Yata Sandaryate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharidashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha Yata
Sandharyate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata
Yadrishi Vaharit Ashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha Yata Sandharyate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharidashu Purushasya Manomalam
Rajo Vacha Yata Sandaryate Brahman Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharirashu Purushasya Manomalam
Is there online chanter?
Rajo Vacha Yata Sat Haryate Brahman
Yata Sandayate Brahman
Dharana Yatra Samata Yadrishi Vaharit Ashu
Yadrishi Tamarashu
Purushasya Manomalam.
Purushasya Manomalam. Anyone else online? That was it? Okay, word for word. Raja Uvacha. The fortunate king said, Yata, as it is, Sandharyate, the conception is made. Brahman, O Brahmana, Dharana, conception, Yatra, where and how, Samata, in a summary, Yadrishi, the way by which, Va, or, Haret, extricated, Ashu, without delay, Purushasya, of a person, Manaha, of the mind, Malam, dirty things. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The fortunate king Parikshit, inquiring further, said, O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed, so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. Purport. The dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. A conditioned soul is surrounded by the manifold miseries of material existence, but on account of his gross ignorance, he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in the heart, accumulated during the long prison life in the material world. He is actually meant to serve the will of the Supreme Lord, but on account of the dirty things in the heart, he likes to serve his concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him any peace of mind, create new problems, and thus bind him to the cycle of repeated birth and death. These dirty things of fruitive work and empiric philosophy can be removed only by the association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can offer his association by his inconceivable potencies. Thus, persons who are unable to pin their faith on the personal feature of the Absolute are given a chance to associate with his Virat Rupa, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. The cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and potencies are identical, even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly, and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord Sri Krishna, and as such he had no need to inquire from Shukadeva Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the impersonal Virat Rupa of the Lord. But he inquired after a detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. The non-devotee class of men cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord. Because of their poor fund of knowledge, the personal form of the Lord, like Rama or Krishna, is completely revolting to them. They have a poor estimation of the potency of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is explained by the Lord himself that people with a poor fund of knowledge deride the Supreme Personality of the Lord, taking him to be a common man. Such men are ignorant of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. By the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or any other society of living beings, and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord, without deviating in the slightest from his transcendental position. So, for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal eternal form, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning, and the Goswami replied in detail as follows. Om Jnanatamrandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurum hina tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. Translation repeated. The fortunate King Pariksha, inquiring further, said, O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. Did you have any comment, Guru Maharaj? So, this is more or less what Arjuna asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, asking Krishna to explain the ways in which we can see him in this world. So, in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains the various opulences he has, the opulences of the Absolute, which is the chapter, the title. So Krishna goes on to explain that things of this world are representations of him, like the shark and various sages, and he sums up the chapter by saying Yad Yad Vibhutimat Sattvam Srimad Urjitam Evava, that anything glorious, beautiful, and wonderful in this world is but just a spark of my splendor. But we can see that as Krishna was explaining these things in this world, and we can get a sense that when we do see these things in the world, then we can more easily think of Krishna, how Krishna is being represented through this object of this world, like the shark. When you see a shark, you can see Krishna said, of the fish I am a shark. So we can understand that Krishna is supplying that shark with the opulence that it has to be great, and the greatness is coming from him. So in that way we can think of Krishna. So the chapter is called The First Step in God Realization. So for those that are not able, as we're hearing it, not able to see or focus on the personal form of the Lord, which is transcendental, due to their material contamination, which is basically the point in the purport that, of course, we quote this verse all the time, but it's important. The verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, Tashi Krishna Namadi Nabhavid Grayam Indri, Sevonimoke Jivado Swami Vaspratida, that in this verse it explains the form of the Lord, one who has material senses that are not pure, the senses that aren't purified, they can't appreciate the form of the Lord. But by purification of the senses, then they can appreciate the form of the Lord. So that's all that is needed to attain attraction to the Lord's form. It's just purification, cleansing of the heart, of the dirty things in the heart. So Prabhupada starts off the purport by saying that the dirty things in the heart of the conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. So these dirty things in the heart are these material desires, these reactions, sinful reactions that are coming, this material conditioning. These all give the conditioned soul trouble, because from these desires, the conditioned soul tries to manifest or tries to enjoy those desires, tries to facilitate those desires in the material world, which bring him or her various sufferings and happiness, and various species of life as well, as Krishna explains, asad yoni janmasu, that this is simply that the conditioned soul meets good and evil amongst various species of life, simply due to this desires of the mind, this concoctions, as Prabhupada says here, they're concocted desires from the dirtiness of their heart. So one may have this lust in their heart from their conditioning, and then they concoct various desires to satisfy such lust, but it never becomes satisfied. It gives so much trouble for the conditioned soul.
If an agnostic asks, "Can you show me God?" and the devotee says, "Yes, Krishna says that he's the sun, the light of the sun." So this will be a difficult task for the agnostics to accept that seeing the sun's rays, seeing the sunshine, I'm the light in the sun. He'll have a difficult time saying that's God, seeing God. Because, again, as nicely pointed out, these impure things in the heart make even that difficult. Whereas if he were submissive, if his heart was not quite as dirty, he could say, "So, what am I looking for?" And the devotee would say, "Looking for the brilliance. How is it that the sun, this ball that's going in the sky, is putting off so much heat, so much light, so much energy, so brilliant? It's been going on as long as we know of, and there doesn't seem to be any indication that it's going to stop, and it's so regulated, it rises, you can make your clocks by it." The devotee is getting excited as he talks about it. He's getting excited. Isn't it amazing? Isn't God great? And the agnostic and the atheist have a difficult time. But that's exactly what they should start with. That's why Krishna says these things. And that's why this Prabhupada says in the purport here, the impersonal feature of the Virat Rupa, because the Virat Rupa means form of God in the form of the universe. So again, one may have a difficult time. He says, "Well, how is it the trees are the hairs on his body, and how can the upper planetary systems be his head, and the lower planetary systems be his feet?" But one has to, like a child, one has to be childlike in spiritual life. His slate has to be clean. And he's willing to listen to the speaker, the teacher, who will teach him how to understand mathematics, for example, how to understand music, he'll explain things in a simple way. That simple way doesn't diminish the complexity of God or the greatness of God in any way, but it's just for him to be able to get started. And it can be explained to him, if he's open, that if you can get some appreciation of God through the sun, through these examples, through the shark, then you'll be making progress towards when his personal form is revealed. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavita mudho yam navijanati lokamam ajam aviyam. I'm never manifest to the foolish and intelligent. For them I am always covered by my creative potency, yogamaya. And thus the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. Because they don't accept, they don't have faith. But what's less miraculous about, miraculous? What's less miraculous or more miraculous than God appearing in his ball of fire in the sky? What could be more of a miracle than that? What could be more amazing? But we've become so sophisticated and so complicated and so dirty-hearted, we can't even appreciate how incredible it is that someone is doing that, or it's being done by a person. How a person could live there. So many different things. So we shouldn't dismiss these descriptions, these impersonal descriptions, as being impersonal. They really aren't. They're part of the personal realization. Before you can understand the person, you understand some of the impersonal aspects. How great is the person? So, before you even, if someone says, I would like to know how great something about this such and such person, you've never met him before. Say, well, he's very famous. Okay. He's very wealthy. Explain something about his wealth. Explain that he's famous, how famous he is, how much he's respected, how much learning he has. And one thing after another, then the person gets a clearer idea. Then when the person is presented, that little man, he's all that? Yes, that. And then you show him a picture. Or you bring the person in to see this other person. Then he can appreciate something. So these are part of, they're impersonal and personal at the same time. Actually, on the absolute platform, Advaita platform, there is no there's no distinction between the impersonal and the personal, because they're both Brahman, they're both the same absolute truth. And one who knows the personal, he automatically knows the impersonal as well. Whereas one who only knows the impersonal, he's not able to understand the personal. Vadanti tattvidas tattvam yajganam advayam prameti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabjate. The absolute truth is realized in three features. Those who are learned, they say this. The absolute truth is realized in three features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. They're all the same. Non-material and completely spiritual. So this is, when a devotee reads this section, he shouldn't think, oh, now I'm going to become an impersonalist. Wait a minute, this is not good, I'm going to become an impersonalist. I shouldn't hear this. No, you'll not become an impersonalist, you'll become more of a personalist, because you realize just how great my Lord is, that He can come as the sun, He can come as the moonlight, the taste of water. How can He get in the taste of water? Unbelievable. Miraculous. But they have a misconception. They think you're going to show them some ordinary person. Can you show me God? And then they bring out some person. Like they do in India, or India is famous for this. They say, you want to see God? And they show you some person, a mundane person. And they expect you to believe it. No, not like that. We don't present just some caricature, some imitator. When you see Krishna, when Krishna appears, you won't be disappointed. If you're purified, if your heart has become pure by following these instructions, you won't be disappointed when you see Krishna in the 10th canto. Krishna makes his appearance on the stage, and nobody will be disappointed because they're ready. But if they try to understand Krishna, the person, from the 10th canto, when they haven't even understood the first canto, then it's not possible. Then they'll blaspheme. They'll say, this is an ordinary person. But if they've been prepared and understood, this is the person that's that sunlight. This is the person that is all the universes. This is the person that knows everything. Oh. Then you fall down and it's like when you meet Prabhupada. Prabhupada's not Krishna, but he's so much the representative of Krishna, just meeting him is enough to knock everyone out. If they're ready, they'd be knocked to the ground. I remember when I first saw Prabhupada, and everyone went on the ground when he walked in. I thought, what is this? And I went on the ground. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was so powerful. Such a representative of God is just amazing. And then God himself, when he appears, it's like all the sound in the universe is playing, and it's at once cacophonous, and it's also at once completely in harmony, and at once it's scary, and at once it's lovely. And it's all the contradictions that one could possibly imagine are there in God at the same time, and they all come out beautiful and attractive. Therefore, the perfect name for our God is Krishna, all attractive.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Materno.
So, if somebody is trying to follow this process of bhakti yoga and they, work up to the stage of anartha-nivritti, is it helpful for that devotee to follow this process that Shukadeva Goswami is recommending to cleanse the heart as a additional means to chanting Hare Krishna and following devotional service?
Well, Prabhupada gives the answer. Parikshit Maharaj is already way beyond this. He already has a personal relationship with the Lord. So he doesn't need this in one sense. But he's setting the example for those who are not on his level. So Parikshit Maharaj doesn't need to go over the basics, or he doesn't need that. But as a merciful Vaishnava, he's getting prompted from within the heart. From within, he's getting prompted, antaryami, and from the outside, he's getting the spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami there in sync. There's different manifestations of the same personality of Godhead. So he's getting perfect instruction from within and from without. And we see that, yes, the first canto, the first two cantos of the Bhagavatam are especially meant for cleaning that and bringing one to the stage of at least goodness, and then that's why it's said that one who is not given up, who cannot follow the regulative principles, he shouldn't really go beyond reading the first and second canto, because you won't be able to properly understand it. He has to get free. And yes, it doesn't interfere at all. Like we pointed out, it doesn't minimize. And as we've read Bhagavatam many times, and we keep hearing this, we come back to this. In Bhagavad Gita, it's also presented. Doesn't mean we're not supposed to read Bhagavad Gita. It's not that we're supposed to graduate to the higher level, then we kind of remove ourselves from the lower level. Everything becomes revealed. The lower level, the high, it's all the same. It's all transcendental knowledge about the Supreme Lord Krishna. And a devotee, as Prabhupada points out, he doesn't reject any part of it. Because he doesn't just want to hear about Krishna and his Leelas in Vrindavan, he also enjoys hearing about Krishna. In Dwarka, and Krishna in Mathura, and Krishna, Prabhupada said, when they would say how God refers, he says, does he ever present himself as the universe? How he creates? Do you ever show God how he creates? No, they want to take a picture of Krishna in his loving affairs with the gopis. That's not the way to understand Krishna. First, understand how he's creating, how he's doing all these things. Then you'll be purified. You'll be ready to understand how Krishna is dancing with the gopis, and there's no fault at all. There's not even the slightest bit of lust. Otherwise, how can you understand it? You say, come on, no lust dancing with women? How is it possible?
Yeah, Bhakti, do you?
So, I'm wondering about why enjoyment brings about dirty things in the heart. Like, what is the process? Like, why exactly does sinning make us unclean?
Sinning?
Yeah, sinning. Like the sin, like wanting to enjoy.
Yeah. Why does, well, that's the thing is, that's what we get in the material world. From the desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, this world is set up so that you get a reaction for it. Because this place is a place of reformation, ultimately, this material world, so that we want to, so eventually, we'll get the realization that we want to not enjoy separately from Krishna, but we want Krishna to enjoy. And through pleasing Krishna's senses, then naturally we'll be pleased. So that is just the system that this world is set up with, which is if you try to enjoy sinful desires, then you get the reactions. And you get conditioned. Shishigonitai. You get conditioned. So that's the point. Yes, Magadari?
I have a question about faith. Prabhupada was kind of touching on that, faith, this word faith, in the purport. And sometimes scientific persons, or so-called scientific persons, they don't like this concept of faith. So maybe you could talk about, I don't really understand the word so well. I don't understand how it applies to our process and, how it's scientific.
How is faith scientific? Well, of course, we've heard many times that one has to have faith to achieve any sort of knowledge, because that means that there is some unknown. When you're trying to understand something, that means you have some element of lack of knowledge, that you have there's something that's unknown. But you have faith that there is something to be known, and that if I research, or if I do this experiment, or if I observe through my senses, then I'll acquire some knowledge, that unknown will be known. So there has to be some faith in order for you to even the faith, there's, like this sort of reasonable, hypothesis that this could lead me to knowledge, or this there's something that's to be known or something to be true about this, but I have to experiment, or I have to, do an experiment to
Leap of faith.
change that.
Take a leap of faith.
Yeah, there's like an element of leap of faith in everything we do. Because we're not the controllers, and we're not omniscient, so there's so much that we have to have faith in. From driving, we have faith that people are going to follow the driving rules, the laws of driving. So we feel safe following them, but that has an element of faith, because it doesn't, we know that some people don't follow them, and people have the free will to not follow the driving rules, but we have faith that people know to follow the driving rules. They know to drive on the right side of the road, not the left, like here in the States. We have faith that people are going to stop at their stop signs when I have a green light and I'm going through that intersection. So faith is there in every aspect of our lives. We just don't really see it. But as far as having an understanding of existential knowledge, it seems like it's more of a leap of faith, because we don't experience these things with our blunt material senses. Like God, having faith in God, the existence of God, is something that we think is far beyond our reach, that there should be some big leap of faith in it. But philosophically, one can understand that it's all coming from God's energy. If we hear from the right sources, then we can develop reasonable faith. And if we just think about it reasonably, we can develop reasonable faith. So, faith, yeah. Of course, the term is used in two different ways that I've heard. Is faith, as in this faith we're talking about, this shraddha, this sort of trust in something sublime, or trust that you're going to gain some knowledge or gain some benefit. And then there's the faith of one's faith, like Prabhupada would talk about one having a Christian faith or a Hindu faith or Muslim faith, like that, which is can be changed, right? One can change their mind about some particular religious faith. But beyond that, those religious faiths is Sanatana Dharma, because that's essentially true for anybody who believes in has any sort of faith, religious faith. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. It looks like we'll be going for Mahaharinam today at 5:30. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki